Hi there, I'm Lena, and I'm 50 years old. Buckle up, because this story spans several years, but trust me, it's worth it. My daughter and I are now in a much better place than we ever imagined. It all began when I met my husband, Ted, through some mutual friends. We went on a couple of dates and pretty quickly fell in love. After about 3 years of dating, we got married. I was ecstatic to marry him because he felt like the other half of me. We complement each other in a way that's hard to explain. A year into our marriage, Mark began asking me to start trying for a baby. At the time, I was very scared of giving birth, plus I had many complications with my reproductive health, and I didn't want to risk either my life or the future baby's life. But Mark was persistent, so I eventually gave in. The entire pregnancy was a trying time because of my many complications. It was a huge pain, but Mark was very patient and caring during the first 3 months until he began frequently traveling for work. Things only got harder from then on, but Mark did make it back in time for the birth of our daughter, Chloe. Mark and I lived in a pretty big, cozy apartment that was rented. We had no plans to move because we knew we weren't stable enough to buy a house. When I was around 7 months pregnant, a new neighbor, Rachel, moved into the apartment next to ours. Even though Mark was hesitant about us meeting her, I felt like both of us being pregnant would lead to some connection, so I dragged Mark over to her apartment door and rang the bell. Hello, I'm Lena, and this is my husband, Ted. We're your neighbors and just want Mark to introduce ourselves. It's lovely to meet you guys. My name's Rachel. Why don't you come on in? Rachel and Mark us in and quickly explained that she was pregnant too, but the man who got her pregnant had abandoned her. Mark seemed really uncomfortable with the whole situation, but I couldn't understand why. After all, I had pretty much desensitized him to the gross parts of pregnancy, so there was no reason for him to be uneasy around Rachel. When I asked him about it later, he just said to forget it and that he was tired. I let it go, but in hindsight, if I had pressed further, I could have saved my daughter and me a lot of pain. Rachel and I spent a lot of time together, bonding over our pregnancies. Despite Ted's discomfort, he never explained why. After I gave birth to Chloe, life became even fuller. We got busy adjusting to our new routines, but we also kept Rachel in mind. I could barely manage my pregnancy even with Ted's help, so I couldn't imagine how tough it was for Rachel on her own. 3 months after Chloe was born, Rachel had a baby girl named Ella. Our daughters were close in age and grew up together, often having play dates that Rachel and I used as downtime for ourselves. Overall, our lives seemed picturesque. But things started to change when the girls entered their first year of high school. Ella suddenly stopped coming over, and Chloe refused to see her. Naturally, I was concerned. At first, I thought it was just a silly fight that both of them were refusing to mend, but as months passed, the animosity between them only grew worse. One night, I sat down with Chloe and asked her what had happened. Honey, I know you don't want to talk about it, but could you please tell me what went down between you and Ella, Mom? I don't want to talk about it. I know, but you two used to be such good friends. You grew up together. What happened? Look, I wish I had the answer. Okay, what do you mean I don't know, Mom? We had our summer break, and when high school started, Ella just started ignoring me. She refused to talk to me and even began to poke fun at me with her friends. Why would she do that? I have no idea. I tried to talk to her many times, but she would either look at me with disgust or she would mock me and make fun of me. Oh, honey, that's horrible. Do you want me to speak to Rachel? No, please don't. It will probably make things worse for me at school. All right, My mouth is sealed. But if Ella ever does anything too bad, you need to promise me that you'll come tell me about it. I promise. Curiosity was gnawing at me. I want Mark so badly to understand why Ella had Mark behaving that way, but I had no way of finding out. I also noticed that Rachel never approached me about the girls not hanging out anymore. In fact, she barely spoke to me. I realized I hadn't made much effort to talk to her either, so I tried to change that, but Rachel was always too busy. Sometimes, Ella would answer the door when I visited, and she would look at me with disgust, just as Chloe described. I tried to talk to her, but she would walk away and call for Rachel. Eventually, we just stopped talking. Life carried on as usual, and in Chloe's final year of high school, I began planning our finances to support her through college. I didn't want her burdened by student loans because I knew firsthand how long it took to pay them off. Not to mention, in the economy we were in, it would have taken her even longer. Mark and I had Mark saving a year before Chloe was born, ensuring she would have the best future possible. She knew about the savings account and how much was in it enough to attend an Ivy League school and still have some left over for whatever she needed. One day, while Chloe and I were shortlisting colleges, I decided to check the savings account. It always brought me joy to see how well we had planned for her future. But when I saw the account balance, my heart dropped. Over 2/3 of the money was gone. I tried not to freak out in front of Chloe, but I asked her to go to her room because I had some things to take care of. As soon as she left, I Mark losing my mind. Where could so much money have gone? I looked at the transaction history and saw it had been withdrawn from an ATM. There was only one person other than me who had access to that account, Ted. I waited Mark anxiously for Mark to come home from work. When he finally did, he avoided me. Dinner was awkward, and Chloe even asked if something was wrong with Ted. I assured her he was just tired and told her to go to her room. After she left, I confronted Mark. Ted. Okay, so you've been avoiding me, which means you know what I want to talk about. I actually have no idea, and I haven't been avoiding you. I've just had a tiring day and want to sleep. You can sleep in a bit, but since you don't know what I want to talk about, let me enlighten you. Can we please not do this? We have to, because Chloe's future depends on it. I was looking at her savings account today and noticed that a large portion of it was withdrawn from an ATM. The only other person who knows the bank details is you. What did you do with the money, and why did you take it out? I really don't want to talk about this. You have no way of getting out of this. If you're in some serious debt or something, you need to tell me. No, it's nothing like that. I just needed to do something out of the goodness of my heart. Goodness of your heart, you can do those things out of your own pocket. You don't steal from your daughter for that. I didn't steal from her. The money is ours until she turns 18. I also contribute Mark to it, so I get to withdraw from it. Chloe turns 18 in 2 months. Do you even know how happy she's been because she thought she could go to Harvard to study law? How could you jeopardize that when you say goodness of your heart? Are you talking about Rachel and Ella? Yes, they were struggling. I want Mark to help them out, so I decided to give them our daughter's money. You could have asked me. We could have helped them out separately, and while it Ella not have been this big an amount, some help is better than nothing. Look, Ella want Mark to go to a really good university that even we couldn't afford. I happened to meet Rachel the other day, and she was crying about how she was struggling to tell Ella that she wouldn't get what she wanted. I just felt bad, so I gave her the money. Ted, what about Chloe? What are we going to tell her? She's known for years how much we saved up for her. She's worked hard and studied her butt off just to get into an Ivy League school. What are we going to do about that? Chloe's a smart kid. I'm sure she'll get a scholarship. I couldn't stand to look at him anymore. I was filled with anger and resentment. How could he do something so cruel to his own daughter? Yes, I felt bad for Ella and Rachel, but Rachel had the responsibility of telling her daughter the reality of their situation. It felt almost predatory, like she had manipulated Mark into feeling sorry for her. I slept in the guest bedroom that night, and though I had a fitful sleep, I managed to rest. The next morning, after Mark had gone to work, I decided to try and get the money back from Rachel. I knocked on her door, and she opened it, surprised to see me. "Hi, Rachel." "Ella, I come in." Sure. Is everything okay?" "No, it's not." "Did Mark tell you where he got the money from?" "Yes, he told me it was his money." "Rachel, that money was from Chloe's college fund. Mark stole it from her, and I want it back." "What, Nina? You can't be serious." "Oh, I'm very serious. You need to give that money back. It belongs to Chloe. She deserves to go to a good university just as much as Ella does." "Look, I'm sorry about your situation, but that money is mine now. You can't just come in here and demand it back." "Are you serious? It's not yours. You didn't earn it, and it's going to get my daughter in serious trouble. If she doesn't get that money, she can't go to university. You know what that's like." "I do, and I'm sorry for what Chloe is going through, but I'm not giving the money back." "Please, Rachel, don't do this. It will ruin her life." "It's not my problem." I couldn't believe it. She was so heartless, and Ted's behavior made even less sense now. How could he risk everything for someone like her? I left her apartment, my mind racing with how to break the news to Chloe. But before I could tell her, Mark decided to do it himself. He explained that he had given the money away, and Chloe was devastated. She couldn't believe her father would do something like that to her. Mark tried to make it up to her, but she pushed him away and stopped talking to him altogether. Mark and I grew distant as well. Our marriage was crumbling, but I didn't want to divorce him just yet because I wasn't financially stable enough to support myself and Chloe. I held on, hoping things would get better, but they only got worse. Mark refused to contribute any money toward Chloe's college expenses, insisting she would get a scholarship. Despite everything, Chloe worked hard and managed to secure a scholarship to an Ivy League school. She graduated with honors, but she rarely came home. I knew she was avoiding Ted, and honestly, I couldn't blame her. I was holding on by a thread, but I couldn't bring myself to leave because I didn't want to put Chloe in a difficult position. She was already dealing with so much, and I didn't want to add to her stress. 2 years after Chloe's graduation, I finally decided to file for divorce. I had saved up enough money to support myself, and I couldn't live with Mark anymore. But before I could go through with it, Chloe showed up at our house one day, looking furious. She had been visiting a friend in town and decided to drop by unannounced. "Mom, I need to talk to you." "Sure, honey, what's going on?" "I found out something really disturbing." "What is it? Are you okay?" "No, I'm not okay. I found out that Ella is Dad's daughter." "What? How could that be?" "Rachel told me. She said they had an affair before you got married, and Ella is the result of that affair." "That can't be true." "It is true. I had a DNA test done, and it confirmed that Ella is Dad's daughter." "How did you get the DNA?" "I got it from one of Ella's old toothbrushes that she left at our house years ago. I'm suing Dad for taking my college fund." I was stunned. I couldn't believe Mark had been living a double life all these years. using his business trips as an excuse to spend time with Rachel and Ella. I was furious and heartbroken, but I suffer marked Chloe in her decision to sue Ted. The court ruled in her favor, and Mark was ordered to repay the money and cover any loans Chloe had taken out for college. I finally divorced Mark and moved closer to Chloe, who helped me start a new life. Now, we're both in a much happier place, and I'm proud to see my daughter thriving and achieving more than I ever imagined.